It's easy to believe Mother Nature is always on your side when you're in a place this stunning. She is beautiful, but she can also be brutal. And on Black Saturday, vast areas of this region were destroyed by fire, including Stuart and Sandra's home, garden, and a whole chunk of their history. How do you bounce back from that? Will you accept the good and the bad of what nature has to offer, and you partner with her for a whole new start? This is Strath Creek, a little slice of rural paradise an hour north of Melbourne. Back in February 2009, this valley and the surrounding region was ravaged by severe bushfires. Stuart and Sandra Hart lost their home on Black Saturday. There were 40 years of memories lost on that day, and unable to face the mammoth task of rebuilding, they decided to begin a new chapter in their lives, just a few kilometres down the road at Waiora. Morning.
Hi, Michael.
Hi, Michael.
What a day.
It's gorgeous, isn't it?
Day.
Nice to meet you.
Lovely to meet you.
Hello, how are you?
Excellent, thank you.
Good.
Making the decision to move was not easy.
So I guess after the fire it was really, are we going to rebuild on the same block or sell that or exactly what?
Our property was burnt to the ground, and the cost of rebuilding and the nakedness of the landscape was pretty confronting.
Luckily, this charming 1920s cottage came on the market just as they were wondering what to do next.
One day we just noticed this house was on the market, so having known this house for a long time, we decided that we'd see if we could buy this.
And now, 6 years after moving in, they have grand plans to totally rejuvenate their garden. So how is the new design going to change the feeling of this garden?
It is closed in to us, and we want more useful space for us and for the family. And we particularly also wanted to have a swimming pool because it gets very hot involving them.
With retirement beckoning, they're preparing for a post-work lifestyle, including more time with the family and new hobbies.
We haven't had a vintage yet. Next year is the year. And as long as we can keep the rosellas at bay with the netting, we should get enough grapes off these 4 rows to at least make a start.
The idea is to have a lovely aesthetic garden and a place of beauty and a place of tranquility, I guess.
I think the nicest thing will be sitting here in the late evening, about 6 o'clock, when the shadows and the hills have got a bit of sun on them.
Oh yes, a gin
Gin and tonic in hand will be very nice.
The first thing you feel when you arrive here is it's just tired. It just feels fatigued. It's just what all gardens go through after a certain period of time. It feels old. At the moment, every pathway is just this wiggly little pathway through garden beds that's pretty, it's charming, but it doesn't actually make any overall sense. What does make sense is capitalising on Mother Nature's incredible backdrop.
This is the view from the back.
Oh, it's amazing. Look at that.
Yeah.
Although shame about the pole.
Yeah, that's a bit tricky.
Step number 1 is to get rid of that power pole. After that, this whole area is going to be terraced so that we can have a wide, flat lawn surrounded by 2 flanking plantings that almost close over but just leave a gap through to that view. Then there'll be a wide set of stairs stepping up to a beautiful new swimming pool. And if they can achieve the levels required, that's going to have an infinity edge. It's just going to create a whole new sense of space. Starting a job like this is bold, but if it all goes to plan, the reward will be so worthwhile. Straight after Easter, while the weather is cooperating, it's time for work to start. The cottage garden, with all its fussiness, is about to become history. A massive hole is being dug for the pool. This will be nearly double the size of your average backyard pool. But it needs to be that big to make sense in such a huge scale setting. This large-scale thinking is stock in trade for Create Her Garden, Paul Bangay.
Sandra was at Paul Bangay's Stonefields one day and saw the swimming pool that he's designed there and thought, that's what I want.
If someone can make a pool for me in this environment, it will be Paul.
I headed to Denver, 90 minutes northwest of Melbourne, to visit Stonefields, Paul's private garden, to get a sense of Sandra's inspiration. Hey, Paul.
Michael, how are you?
Going? What a great day.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Come on in.
Thank you. So, Paul, how long have you been here now?
Look, I've been here 10 years now.
Right.
And it was just literally a cow paddock when we first came here.
And so how long does it take before you start to get this amazing sense of enclosure?
Yeah, and look, it probably took like 7 years, maybe 8 years before it started to feel like a proper garden. And now 10 years old, it's actually really growing in and feeling quite mature.
Has there been evolution for you?
Oh, yeah, definitely. When I first started off, it was very classic, it was very formal, very just green and like layers of hedges. But now I'm sort of mellowing a little bit more. You can see a lot more flowers, a lot more perennials, roses, autumn colour coming into it. Softer and more organic as I'm going on.
So Sandra came here and stood here at this pool and said, that is what I want.
Yeah.
In your mind, what does she mean when she sees this and says, that's what I want?
Well, I mean, they're perched on the edge of a cliff like we are here with a hill. And I think she liked the idea of seeing the pool, seeing the distant horizon, seeing a valley below, and being engulfed by sort of flower beds. And I think that sort of spoke to her.
When you're working with big views like this, it's really critical that you're not too fussy in your foreground. There needs to be a simplicity. Everything is going to submit to the view anyway. And so I love the fact that Paul has done really a very simple pool with very little decoration around it. And Sandra and Stuart's pool is somewhat similar in that sense. It will subordinate itself. It will come under the power of the view anyway. So there's no point in fighting with that. You really need a simple foreground. And this garden and Sandra and Stuart's garden will be handling that quite similarly. The horticultural standards here are stupendously high, and the attention to detail is evident everywhere. I'm just loving this play of masonry against plant. Here you've got a big box ball and two small stone balls, and then you've got a hedge of green running into a column of stone. All the time you're wondering, am I looking at plant or architecture or both? As good as it looks from the ground, in some places it's the birds that get the best view. This garden is inspiring and enviable, and I can see why Sandra considered Paul the perfect fit. Back at Strath Creek, it's 1 month into the build. The rain has arrived, but the old garden is long gone.
This is soggy.
Won't need a swimming pool here at the moment.
No.
A much bigger pergola is taking shape, but it's not quite ready to host Stuart and Sandra with their G&Ts. Slate paving is going down under the pergola, and retaining walls are reshaping the contours. The pool shell, made of 26,000 litres of concrete, is ready for tiling.
Now, this looks great.
Yeah.
Ultimately, Stuart and Sandra want this garden to be a legacy for their family, so they're attending to every detail of the design.
That transition now will be good between the...
Yeah, I noticed that level's looking really right now.
Which level are we talking about? The one
far
for?
corner
Oh,
where
right.
the pool gate is.
Oh, yes, that's all come out.
It's all going to look
And we
quite
actually
nice.
push that retaining wall back further.
Good.
So the garden bed will be on the other side, but at height.
This site has changed completely since last I was here. It was all little tight little wiggly paths and narrow garden beds, and now it's just these massive big flat spaces. It's kind of hard to reconcile. Sometimes I think I'm more into garden demolition than garden construction because I just love it when a whole lot of other stuff has been cleared away, and in this case it really feels like the boundary's been pushed right out. And so has it all gone according to plan?
So far?
Apart from the mud, yes.
So no fine-tuning along the way?
Oh, there's a number of little things that come up as you go. You just have to find a solution.
Well, one thing's occurred to me. If you tried to do this yourself and built a design like this and then started doing the excavation with all the excavators we had in here, you'd be at this point saying, go on, I think. So that's why it's terrific having a designer who you know has done these projects before and you've seen the before and after photographs. You know it's going to work.
Honouring the history of the house, they've managed to reuse some of the plants from the old garden.
I labelled all of the roses that were here and they've been planted down in the garden on the north side, so we've saved quite a lot.
Is there anything that you just can't wait to see in place now?
Obviously the planting will make a big difference, and we've lost the intimacy of the patio for the time being, but I'm looking forward to being able to, put tables and chairs back there and see how that works.
But I think the paving starting to go down now is going to give it a big lift.
A generous apron of split-faced slate pavers slides out into 220 square metres of lawn. It just feels so generous. The whole thing feels generous in a way that I really didn't expect it to.
Really?
You know? I knew it was going to be kind of spacious, but it just feels like it pushed the boundaries back.
Yes.
To optimise the view, Stuart and Sandra made an expensive decision. Remember that power pole? They had the power company relocate it further down the road and out of sight. With a bill for $35,000, the difference to that view came at a price.
It's opened up this view tremendously, which we thought would happen, but it's much better than it really even thought it would be.
The results have really given Stuart and Sandra the confidence to go for broke. As a designer, I have no trouble visualising the end result, but I know for so many people to see a garden in a state like this, it's just impossible to imagine lounging out here on a sunny summer's afternoon. I love Sandra and Stuart's confidence in this process. They know where they're headed and they're just going to see this through smiling all the way. Smiling can be difficult when you're working through one of Victoria's wettest winters on record. But although there's a long way to go, this design has already regenerated and reinvigorated everything about the space. The last time we were here, this place was just a sea of mud. But you can now really start to see the shapes emerge out of the slurry. We've got stepping stones going in across the lawns, really creating strong focal points. The block wall against the pool is being clad with natural granite to link in with the paving. The brick paving that was under the old pergola has been repurposed, possibly in a second, third, or even fourth life as a retaining wall beside the pool. And that pool is certainly a statement piece. This whole design pivots around this pool, and it is no small undertaking. It was a huge hole dug here. Over 200 tonnes of soil and rock had to be excavated. It has to be overcut to make room for plumbing. And then the Rio, and then the concrete, and then the tiles, and then the paving, and then over 75,000 litres of bore water. The pool is one of 3 aspects of this design I've been following closely. It was absolutely key to the design right from the start, and the one thing that locked Sandra into both her choice of designer and the selection of the way the spaces would work. And it's emerging as the very spine, the heartbeat of the whole design. Second, there's the regeneration, and it's great to see plants re-emerging that were dug out and set aside for this point, as well as the red brick being reused for the wall. There's a lovely sense of a reiteration of what was once here. And thirdly, there's the notion of scale. And it just feels like this garden is embracing the landscape beyond, the size of all that in a whole new way. What you're creating is something so fantastic, usable, and so engaging.
Yes,
I think that's the big thing to me. It's the usability of this is going to be so much easier.
Miles ahead of where you were. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Stuart and Sandra have been able to reclaim so much usable land. With all this fill and these high retaining walls, they've been able to push the boundaries of the garden so much further than I ever thought was possible. The fill? It came from the 200 tonnes of dirt dug out for the pool. The visual effect, even at this dirt-only stage, is impressive.
You'll be able to walk across this grass and then just walk out through a gate onto the paddock.
It's October, and the winter rain has continued through spring, so meeting deadlines has been a challenge.
Progress has been slow for the last 2 months. It's been very wet and rainy and soggy, but hopefully the weather is improving.
Paving may be behind schedule, but the pool is tiled. Happy with the selection?
Yes, yes, it looks fantastic.
Yeah.
And each of those tiles has got 3 little indents on a bit of nice light. Yes.
That's a big pool. You get a decent lap out of that. Today's focus is the planting of the trees, but exactly where they go is up for debate. So are these trees in their locations? Is that ready to go?
No, they're not. No, we'd like Sandra to confirm the position before we commit.
All right, so what does the boss say?
Well, I've just done a quick measure on this plan because I'm really obsessed about getting things into the right position.
Right. Well, that is in line with the tread, the front of the tread.
Oh, okay, good.
That perfectly. If you go back to the other end of the step and run your eye along the tread, you should see that the trunk is pretty much in line.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That looks lovely because it's got a vertical, comes down in a triangle, and you've got that horizontal ballerina arm. I like it very
I don't
much.
think it should be a bit further away from the path by any chance.
That's what Paul says, so I'm quite comfortable with it. We always disagree on things, you know, you're black and us versa. I actually do prefer it in the line of 3.
You know, the placement of these trees is more than just an aesthetic consideration. They become like the implied walls of this space. So it's really as much about the feeling, the proportion, the enclosure of this space as it is about just how it looks. As rain closes in again, Sandra and Stuart inch closer to the finish line, although perhaps not as close as they would like. This design is largely plant-driven, so the big change won't show until the 700-odd plants are in the ground, and that's not going to happen today. A few weeks on, under sunny skies, the lawn is being rolled out, and designer Paul Bangay is on site for planting.
Hello.
Hi, Paul.
Lovely to
Good to
see
see
you.
you once again.
Good to see you. Lots of progress.
It's
Absolutely.
fantastic.
Yeah,
It's
wonderful, isn't
fantastic.
it?
How's the grass?
I know. And what the grass does, of course, it links you with the outer landscape.
That's right.
Paul's job today is to place the plants in the garden beds around the lawn.
We graduate the height, so they're sort of taller at the back, medium in the middle, and then smaller at the front. But it's also about the colours sort of merging into each other, so I'm always thinking about what colours with the other colours. So it's all up here, and it sort of comes down there somehow. I don't know how. Just when you think you haven't got enough plants, you actually have.
Yeah. He's got this fantastic innate sense of design and how things should be placed.
As Paul teases out the detail of what goes where, Stuart rolls up his sleeves to help.
It's all in between. That's the plan.
That's the plan.
Stuart has become really enthused about the project. He was perhaps less enthused at the start when I suggested we take on the services of a landscaper. He said, I don't know that that's necessary. But now he sees the result, he's ecstatic.
Given the history of the area, it's really important that there are fire prevention details underpinning the design. The sprawling green lawn around the house creates a buffer from flames, and access to more than 70,000 litres of water provides a firefighting resource.
Post the fires, everyone has a policy now in this area of having green lawns, or rather than brown lawns,
Yeah.
because it's much
Better
safer.
fire protection.
But the garden's primary purpose is to be beautiful, and the design will deliver big time with huge swathes of soft, billowing perennials.
Really pleased how the day's gone. Like the client's happy, the designer's happy, and the planting's the final piece of the jigsaw, and it's fitted in really well to the garden beds that we're all laid out. So I think, probably in 6 months' time, we'll see this garden looking quite mature.
As summer arrives, 9 months after the project began, it's time for this brand new dream garden to make its debut. Wow. It feels so clean and finished. The first thing that strikes you is how this incredible green lawn is like a carpet rolled out in front of the view. The greenery here just links with the greenery beyond and draws your eye like it never did before. It is, of course, when you start a new garden, a little bit like a two-dimensional experience. All these plants are going to grow enormously and they're going to grow fast. Meanwhile, it feels a little bit exposed, but you expect that with a new garden. Really enjoying the clipped edges of these box balls against the fluffiness of the surrounding planting. The contrast of those is lovely, and the movement of some plants and the static quality of others. How you going?
Hello, Michael.
Hey, Stuart.
Going well, thanks.
Welcome again.
You must be so delighted.
Oh, we're thrilled. It's exceeded our expectations.
Fantastic. So, Sandra, you went to Stonefields and you loved what you saw there and wanted that here. Do you think that Paul has effectively translated what you loved to this location?
What I wanted was to have a swimming pool integrated into the garden, and you could be in the pool and look out to this beautiful view to the east. And I think he's achieved that for me.
So all up, the power pole, the pool, the garden, how much does this cost?
400,000. Perhaps a fraction more.
I think it's probably overcapitalised, but that's not the aim of the game. The aim of the game is to have a good, functional, lovely living space.
There are no regrets. And at this stage of our life, it's better to invest in something like this.
Paul Bangor has delivered a baby for Stuart and Sandra in the shape of a designer garden. And it's their job to feed, nurture and discipline it so that it grows into a clever, generous garden that will change with the seasons and reward its proud owners. So you're both after a more family-friendly space. Does it work on that level?
The grass here comes straight off from the patio, so while we're sitting having lunch or dinner, the children can run and play out here, and we're going to look after it for the length of time that we can, given our age. So hopefully it will be for them. Here's to a lovely garden, to a lovely family. Here's to the next 10 years.
Sensational.
Love it. Nice tomato salad, Jenny.
For Stuart and Sandra, this garden represents a future they've worked hard to achieve. For them, this is far more valuable than money in the bank. To make a garden is an act of optimism. They usually arise out of a sense of security and stability and a conviction that while things may be good now, they can be better yet. For Stuart and Sandra, it's on which to paint the future of their family life.